Yeah, names, final. Yeah, we're good. I think we're good. So this is. I titled it. Oh, well, I guess I didn't title it. What does it serve in society? I think after doing the research, I changed the name of it to the two-party system and how detrimental it is to society. My original research topic was, does the two-party system have a purpose? But that definitely switched. The tone definitely switched after I did my research. So, the two-party system has caused a lot of unnecessary division in the U.S. People are ending friendships over political affiliations, and family get-togethers become a breeding ground for debate. Many people know about the two-party system, but many people don't know about its history and how damaging it truly is to the U.S. Are there benefits of the two-party system, or is it just an outdated system that serves no purpose? Kind of my thesis, hook, introduction, all that stuff. Um, in this paper, I will explain that the two-party system, what the two-party system is, the history of the two-party system, the pros and cons, and how harmful it is to people in the U.S. So I kind of reply to a lot on Twitter to people that I dislike, maybe people I like, and then other people join, who dislike me respond to me. But um, there is always, I don't know. I can say well, it's an actual thing that happened. I said that I support like the LGBT, but I disliked a specific person that was in the LGBT, and then that person was, and someone responded to, well, it's obvious that you don't actually care about the LGBT because you don't like this person, and that's what I mean. What happens if you take away the individualism? You get people that are also get forced into the group. So I just have a lot of criticism towards someone who is trans, but then that suddenly means that I hate all trans people when I hate the individual person and not the group. And when you like think of people as a group, that's kind of what happens. And then that person blocked me because I don't know. I feel like there was a recent post about a K-pop stan that had like 16,000 blocks, and that's kind of how you. By the amount of people that by the amount of you can see like by the amount of people that you see someone has blocked, you can kind of tell what kind of person they are. By okay, sorry, you can tell the kind of person what kind of person is by how many people they have like blocked on Twitter. You can tell that they're like insufferable, or someone that's either constantly has disagreements with people and can never find a middle ground, or I don't know, there's like ideologically like blocked in to like something. Um, According to the editor's Encyclopedia Britannica, two-party system, political system in which the oh, sorry, this is just my citation. I hated doing this. Um, Encyclopedia Britannica, two-party system, political system in which the electorate gives its votes largely to only two major parties, and in which one or okay, why am I still in Minecraft? Hold on, sorry. I should probably close Minecraft. Okay, there we go. According to the editor, I read that already. The major and the legislator. In simple terms, it reduces options, making the voting process much simpler. The U.S. is technically a multi-political system, but because it has two major parties, many consider it to be a two-party system. Each party is supposed to embody the ideals and representatives of the representative and the voters, but it seems a lot of critical thinking is lost when you associate with these two parties. Very major thing right there. When you especially when people are moving farther and farther down the political spectrum. You need to be like someone on the far right, and you can be right leaning and say the same thing that you can say. Let me think. What's a good example? You can. I'm trying to think of like a right leaning deal. Okay, I guess if you can say that illegal immigrants like shouldn't be able to stay in the country, and then someone on the far right would say that that all immigrants shouldn't be able to come into the country, then it's like, do you have a disagreement? The person on the far right is going to call you like a leftoid because you are on the left of them, so they're gonna consider you a liberal, a left leaning, because you're a left leaning individual. That's kind of like how it's just how it works with political spectrum. And then the same thing with like, I'm not gonna give an example for one on the left, but it's the same thing. As people move farther and farther in down the political spectrum, you can be slightly left of them, and they will consider you far left of them. And that's like basically what an extremist is. They are not people that you should realistically consider being in the same political affiliation as you, because the political spectrum is not a line. It is kind of just a circle. You just like point in an area in the circle, and that's where you land. Um, and something else is people are complaining about like critical thinking being lost with like the more uses of AI, which is true. But then you also are someone that only looks at um, like news from like CNN or something, or only looks at news from like Fox News. You're not getting a lot of perspective. You're actively blocking other people's perspectives, and you create agendas for people that that you do not like know, you don't understand, you don't associate with. You just pretend to care about them because that makes you look good. You're like fighting for like the moral high ground when but completely push those people away from you when you disagree with them, which happened a lot during the election when like a lot of, I think it was specifically Mexican men, Hispanic men, voted for Trump, and then people like, I wish he would get deported. Like it's like not about it's not about the group anymore. Then it's like when they like want to look at the individuals is when they vote differently. I think another thing. Oh, I was just going to talk about it anymore. Where this right here is my own opinion. Right here. Whoops. Okay. The history of the two-party system is not common knowledge. Most people don't know when the and why the most people don't know when or why the two-party system was created. Political parties were not considered when the U.S. government was being developed, and many of the founders distrusted partisan groups. Alexander Hamilton called parties the most fatal disease of popular governments, while George Washington warned in his farewell address in 1796, the beginning of the two-party system, that political factions would lead to frightful despotism. And then this is made the citation, Sarah Prout, January 29th, 2025. Why does the U.S. have a two-party system? By the time that Washington's farewell address was written, factions had already started to form. Hamilton led the Federalists, which is kind of funny because he was against it, while Thomas Jefferson led the Anti-Federalist. So originally it wasn't called Republican and Democratic, it was just the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. And I do not know the distinction between the two. So here's the pros of the two-party system. So this was very annoying to write because the article I was using, every single pro they either disproved it while explaining the pro, or they disproved it while explaining the cons. So that really tells you how effective the two-party system is. It gives you perspective. It really makes you think, why do we use a system? The first pro states there is no question as to who is in the majority with a two-party system. Yeah, it just makes basically how I explained earlier how it simplifies the voting system. Even if a tie occurs, the U.S. has a countermeasure that allows the current vice president to act as a tiebreaker. It's kind of stupid because, of course, the vice president is going to choose the one that's like. Of course, the vice president's going to choose the one that's in their political party. Pro 2, it says it encourages more people to run for office. However, the point contradicts itself by saying that the U.S. offers a system of primary elections that help reduce the number of viable candidates to just one from each party. It doesn't really, yeah, it's kind of what I said earlier. So basically, it reduces the amount of people who can vote because only people with specific opinions are more likely to get elected, or people think they have to run for the two major parties, and that kind of makes it so they're less motivated to try to run for the specific party, especially because if there's already very two popular candidates for those options, why would you bother running? Which means you must run for the two biggest parties to have a chance to become the president. Yeah, that's what I said. Pro 3, it says it limits the amount of extremism that can form in the government, which I thought was extremely funny when I read that. I think I made multiple Twitter. After I read that, I kind of went crazy and posted. I went on Twitter, started laughing at it, and then I sent it to my friends, and they also thought it was funny. Why would having two parties reduce the amount of extremism happening? Because now you have people far left extremists like Hassan who have a platform to promote far left ideals, and not getting any hardly any pushback on it. And then you got far right people like Ben Shapiro, or what's his face, Charlie Kirk, who are also able to talk about their speak about far right ideals without hardly any pushback. And I think here it is. The point also says it is a stronger bond for centrism, but less appealing. Wait, it's both sides. I think. I don't know. There's a different post. I think I saw that. It's talked about. It's kind of a funny thing to say, but it talks about. I think it's a different article I read. It talks about extreme centrism, which definitely exists. It's just kind of funny to hear. Listening to it, it doesn't really make any sense. When you think about it, someone who is an extreme centrist is someone who has no opinions on either side, and that makes them kind of dangerous. It makes it so it's like people that don't really think at all. It's kind of what it is. They have no opinion about abortion. They have no opinion about immigration. It's those kinds of people. That is what a not far right or far left, a extreme center person would look like. Which you probably see a lot of. You can probably see a lot of. That's why I don't really consider myself a centrist either. I don't consider myself to be a centrist. I don't consider myself to be on the right or left, Republican or Democrat. I am someone who has my own opinions. I am an individual that has my own opinions. I believe that women should have rights to their bodies, specifically when it comes to abortion, because that's the most politicized thing right now. And then I believe that illegal immigrants shouldn't get a pass into this country. because they are providing something for us. That it seems very evil to like just allow legal immigrants into the country so they can provide for us. That is seems very evil in my opinion, but a lot of people on the left would disagree with that. And apparently a lot of people on the right would also disagree with that, considering it came out that a lot of farmers, specifically ones that voted for Trump, had a bunch of cheap labor, and most of them were illegal immigrants. Okay. Where were we? Okay. The point. Okay. The point also says that it creates a stronger bond for centrism, but that doesn't make any sense. Why would it create a stronger bond for centrism, but has become less appealing as both sides are moving more toward extremism? So I think this last part, this sentence is something that I have kind of the second half of the statement is definitely something that came from me specifically and not from the article. The fifth point was that the two-party system applies to the local government as well, meaning it not only simplifies the national voting system but also local, which I guess is all right. I don't know. I don't think it's good. Well, that was really loud. I don't think it's good to. I don't think it's a good system because it simplifies voting. That doesn't really make that much sense to me. I feel like you would want a candidate that just thinks for the people rather than thinks for half the people. Is that like too much to ask for? A candidate that cares for the people, that isn't pushing an agenda, that doesn't only consider half the people, that only someone a person that doesn't only consider half the people, or a government that at least a government that doesn't pretend to care about the people. I don't know. Is it bad to say that you want a politician that cares for the people and not say I want a politician that cares for like people who are Democratic or people who are Republican? Is that too much to ask for? Two final points were mentioned in the part of the, but the two final points were mentioned and what the two-party system really is. It speeds up and simplifies the process of governing. Okay. So I kind of got. I think I got sick of reading the pros and kind of wrote like just a quick tidbit on them. Many of the pros contradict themselves, and the cons also disprove many of the pros as well. The first con is that it excludes viable candidates from having a legitimate chance at being elected. This is just a citation. Don't need to read that. This point says that you have to run for one of the two major parties if you want to be elected, which completely contradicts point two. This was what was pro two again. I should probably highlight these. This is pro one, I believe. No, that's the first pro. Pro two. It encourages more people to run for office. And then also the pro also contradicts itself, and then this con also contradicts it. It's really funny how poorly this like there's like I feel like there wasn't. It's not poorly written. It's just it feels like there wasn't. I think while they were writing the article, they realized that man, maybe this article is. I already finished half of it, but I have to finish it now because I already got the okay to write an article like this, so I have to finish it or else I won't get paid for it. It's kind of what I thought would happen. And then they just realized, man, maybe the two-party system doesn't have that many any pros at all besides maybe simplifying the voting process. All right. Where am I? I should have highlighted where I was before I went up. Here. Con 2 states it creates a system of assumptions instead of facts. which is what realistically that's what voting for a politician is. You're voting based off assumptions, saying like they're gonna do this, so you're gonna assume they're gonna do it, but then they end up never doing it. So that's what voting in like every country feels like. They make promises that they never keep. Like, and then yeah, system remove. This idea is a occurring theme in the cons of the two-party system, in where the two-party system removes the need for critical thinking and formulating your own ideas. Okay? This is why you shouldn't fall. You should. We need people to stop. Like, we need people to at least stop pushing others away for having different ideas and opinions. Because then we become more stagnant in the way we think. We'll stop developing as a society. We can't agree, and we can't like overthrow like government officials because we can't agree on what official is good or not when they're realistically none of them are good. We can't. And if you like are someone who wants to like get rid of an official that is a part of your political party, then you are like ostracized from your political party. And I guess being kind of the fear of being left out, kind of like is kind of what that is. People don't want to be excluded from something that they see as like virtuous or something that they see as the truth, rather than a group. Uh, Point three explains how running as independent is completely obsolete. Okay, that was really that was really short. When it comes to politics, people don't want to listen to you. Oh no, this is a part of it. I think this is something that I wrote up myself. I don't know. Maybe I have to check out. Maybe you can. I don't know. People can check out the article and see if this was my own idea or if it was from the article. When it comes to politics, people don't want to listen to unique perspectives. They only want to listen to what their candidate has to say and what the opposing candidate has to say. Well, looks like I broke that up. Con number states. I forgot to put the number in. Whoops. I don't think I lost points for that. States reform movement typically starts outside of the two-party system. According to Gallup, an American multinational analytical and advisory company, the approval of Congress has been down on a downward trend 30% since 2009. One of the highest approval ratings was during the bipartisanship after the September 11th attacks, which was 84%. Um, the cause of the approval rating wasn't necessarily because of the bipartisanship, but because a national tragedy allowed people to empathize with each other regardless of what their political affiliation. So this is something that was kind of lost, especially during I think it was the first assassination attempt on Donald Trump, where um, a citizen, specifically a fireman, was shot. Like it missed him, and then hit and killed a firefighter. And then a lot of people on the left were justifying his death because he was at a Trump rally. So I suspect if we get like another national tragedy like September 11th, we're not going to get the same empathy that we got during 9/11. Well, you can see that just like with the Texas floods recently, there are a lot of I don't know if it's just my Twitter page, but I see a lot of like people on my Twitter page justifying the death of a bunch of conservative individuals because just a bunch of people because they live in a red state. And then I think you can probably say the same for the California fires. There wasn't a lot of empathy from people from the right for people getting harmed during the California fires. but I didn't really see as much like pushback from the right as much like pushback from the left I'm seeing during the floods. I don't know if there was like I don't know if another national. It's like these are more like local than national, but you can obviously see that we've reached a turning point where everything has become politicized. There's no. I already talk about this a lot. There's no such thing as an individual. It's just you are a part of a group, so you deserve what's coming to you. It's kind of what Twitter is, I guess. Kind of. And if you fall out of the norm of either side, then you get ostracized from both like from everyone. I already talked about this earlier, but it got blocked by the person. It's just up. My chat is working. Okay, you can watch me ban this person, ban the bot. Uh, okay, they're gone. Yeah, the reason why I don't want to post this stuff on Twitter because this happens regardless of what I post. If I post on streaming on Twitter, but if I were to like announce I'm streaming on Twitter, then I get other bots coming in, then I get artists or scammers. Not really artists, scammers that want money. A good artist wouldn't like have time to like constantly be asking for commissions. A good artist would have people coming to them for commissions. You have to let your art speak for itself. So if like there's an art, you can easily check. It's like a lot of cookie cutter art or AI art. Well, not art, just AI pictures. You can see. You can tell that there's people that are trying to just get money out of you and don't really have that much love for like art in general. What was I talking about before? Yes, talking about Texas floods. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So my attack on an individual was seen as an attack on a group of people, which does not make any sense. And calling someone out for having very hateful behavior just because they have had a different political opinion or just had different opinions than other people I disagreed with that, but I also stated that I do not care what those about the people and their like perceived groups. Like those people I just don't care is not a good way to put it. Just they're people in my eyes, so I'm not going to treat them any differently, but if I say that I hate an individual as part of that group, then I hate all of them. Even though I specifically stated before that I do not dislike that group of people. In fact, though said that those people deserve the same rights as everyone else. But me like saying that I don't like an individual who has considered themselves a part of that group. What was I saying? Just means that I have an agenda against that entire group of people. Again, that's what you lose. This is what happens if you lose the idea of individualism. It's just you get the assumption that if you dislike one person or you like one person, you instantly like an entire group or you instantly dislike an entire group. It's like kind of also what happened with the Carmelo Anthony's case. It wasn't seen as individual people, it wasn't seen as like individuals, like victims. It was seen as a group of people are the victim, even though the victim was the kid that died. But people considered Carmelo Anthony's the victim because he was an African American person. And then we're definitely going to get a turning point because of that, because the pendulum, no matter what, it's always going to swing. We're going to start seeing more white people get like. We're going to see a lot of like people questioning white people that have definitely committed crimes because they are afraid that the court system is going to start taking the sides of African American individuals more, like kind of like an O.J. Simpson case. So people are going to start questioning judges for making decisions against white people, even if they are definitely the perpetrator of a crime. Okay. This Con 6 says that the two-party system encourages people to group with like-minded people. This has caused a 50% decrease in swing states in 25 years, and because of this, people feel like their vote doesn't matter. So it's basically just saying that swing states don't really exist anymore, especially because a lot of people move out of their state because others around them have different political ideals or different politics in them, so they move out of the state, which has happened a lot more probably with like millennials and like Gen Z. It's this moving out of a state because they have different politics, which is, I don't know, kind of an extreme way to do it, I guess. I don't know. So swing states are probably, I don't know, at this point don't really exist anymore because people have more freedom, I guess, to move. Oh, I guess this is also right here is what it says. Well, I should have read it first. People with similar thoughts will consolidate to one location, and this will cause the flow of new ideas to slow down. Yeah. That's probably why you have inbred people in Alabama. Con 7 says, I don't know why I properly broke this one up and then I left this as one big. Yeah, whatever. Con 7 says that the opinion and voices of voters are limited because of the two-party system. People don't want to associate with either party, such as me, believe that people are just choosing the lesser of two evils. Oh yeah. So this stated in the article. I kind of added my own taste to my own ideas to it, but what the article I read said is basically said this: people are choosing the lesser of two evils. We are able to see the good and bad in every candidate, and that makes it difficult for us to want to vote. That's kind of just also my opinion. I do not want to vote for people that I perceive to be evil, and I'm not going to choose the person that is less evil than the other person. Because, I don't know, that's like kind of my morals would kind of prevents me from doing that. I am old enough to vote, by the way. But I have never considered voting because you have people who loved Obama, did plenty of good during his time, but also had very strong some of the strongest anti-immigration policies out of like any like president at the time. Well, not even at the time because he was the only one at the time. And then also him caging children, drone striping Middle Eastern countries. I don't know what Coney Island is, but I keep seeing that for some reason. And also being against gay marriage because religion. And what else did he do? Getting rid of wet foot, dry foot, which is basically that allowed Cuban people to enter the country and get instant sanctuary, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if you look deeper, the main reason why he got rid of that was probably to remove red votes because Cubans were more likely to vote red. Which also, I don't even know how they were even allowed to vote because I don't think sanctuary provides you citizenship. So realistically, they shouldn't have been able to vote anyways. Point 8 tells us that voters don't truly know what they are voting for. That's kind of a funny point. A candidate is able to appeal to one polarizing topic and people will vote for them while ignoring many other policies. Okay, that's not good grammar. Their candidate has their candidate has in mind. It looks like I didn't really add anything to that. So I guess like examples of this: immigration, abortion rights. Um, those are some main things. That's like probably the easiest way to gain votes right now for some reason is specifically talking about immigration. That's like kind of what the big thing is right now. But you can easily appeal to just one of those topics and just look at the stats, see like how many people agree with that, and then you can easily just take advantage of that to gain votes. Politicians are constantly looking for an easy win, which is why there was an article released about how the Republicans community barred like the Epstein files from being released, and they use that as an easy win. In reality, no political leader wants those lists to be released because there's a lot of people on it that lose from it getting released. But I really would personally, I would love to see people in power getting shut down, no matter what side of the political spectrum they're on. They have committed many atrocities against like many different people, and they deserve the same punishment and probably worse at this point than a regular person would get for committing the same crime, or like even lighter crime. They would probably wouldn't even get punished for those. For they like the list can come out and none of those people would get punished. The only people that would probably get punished are just the regular. Like it's not even just politicians that are on the list. There are probably many millionaires and billionaires that are also on the list. Like um let me think. One big person, Stephen King, the writer of like creator of It and like many other stories. Did he also create the? I don't remember what else he did. I think he also I don't know. Writer of like horror book writer who has like made tweets saying that the Epstein list is as real as the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus. People like it's not just politicians that have something to lose from it, which is why they're so afraid to like release it. There's like I guess a lot of money that could be lost, but at this point, the money doesn't matter. A candidate is okay. I didn't even. I don't know. I already read that. While ignoring other policies a candidate has in mind, the way I interpret Con 9 is no matter what side you are on, the majority is always prioritized first. Minorities struggle to find a voice when discussing politics, and their voices are often ignored in favor for the majority. We have finally reached the final point. Oh, I didn't even have a point for. I didn't even have. I guess I didn't really have any thoughts about that one. Because I don't know if that con really applies anymore, considering it seems like minorities are at this point prioritized over the majority. We have finally reached the final point. This con highlights the lack of consistency when creating policies. When the Trump administration came into power in 2017, government officials began to undo what the previous president had started. Yeah, it's like every time we get a new president, they're going to either create new policies against to what the previous president has created, or they're going to get rid of those policies. And you see the same thing with what Trump did when he came into power um, this season. Okay. There are many pros and cons in the two-party system, but the cons outweigh the pros. One of the pros even claims that it prevents extremism, which is the theme of my next topic. It's no secret that extremism exists in the US, but are you able to accept the fact that the party you associate with participates in this destructive behavior? I feel that'll make a lot of people angry. Starting with an example of of far right extremism, the January 6th incident was not only destructive but also encouraged by Donald Trump, the current president of the United States. Many of the people who participated in in the January 6th riot that were identified were also associated with extremist groups. Something I want to highlight from the Harvard Gazette article, "What Prompted Capitol Rioters to Violence" by Zimrad, is how people become radicalized. This was like a really good article, I think, when I read it. In the article, Zimrad's research, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry, um, states that people that struggle with cognitive rigidity are more likely to resort to violence when supporting a political group. So only what associating with when you associate with a political party or like either side of the spectrum, you basically become you basically become more cognitively rigid, meaning you're unable to accept ideas outside of like quote unquote the norm, your norm. And that's why I thought the article was very good. It was super like, despite it being about far right extremism and the Capitol riots, January 6th riots, it was surprisingly more neutral, and it kind of is something that applies to both sides and not just one. So I thought it was a really good article that highlighted what associating with either political party does to you. This directly coincides with what was previously mentioned about critical thinking is lost in two party politics. There is no comparing right wing extremism to left wing extremism. They are both the same. They both cause destruction, but more importantly to our detriment. They cause divide through negative perception. A recent example of far left violence was the vandalism of Teslas after the election results. Most of the vandalism were minor scratches, but on March 17th, oh, is that the end of the sentence? College student Owen McNityre allegedly set fire to a Kansas City Tesla ownership. According to Newslines Institute, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Violent acts supporting or fighting against political parties are becoming more common. It states that incidents like January 6th and the vandalism of Teslas are being utilized as political weapons. This is another thing I want to talk about. Um, so you can think of like, I guess the best way to describe it to me, you can think of or not far right extremists. You can think of extremists as like bad actors, people that I personally wouldn't consider to be left or right, despite maybe pushing right leaning or left leaning beliefs. Because I think when you start including those people in the left or the right, you start to push kind of an agenda. Politicians use it to push an agenda. People will use it to push an agenda. You just constantly see it on social media. And this, I didn't know about this before. It's like an older incident. Well, maybe not even older incident. There was an incident, I believe, in where was it? Where was it? It was some kind of Christian rally in Seattle. Yeah, in Seattle. It wasn't anything like dangerous or like anything really. It was like basically nothing. It was just a Christian rally, and if you look at video clips of the Christian rally, it's just people singing and dancing and just spreading the word, spreading their religion, which is something that yeah they're supposed to do. If you're like a religious person, you're supposed to be pushing your not ideas to other people. You're supposed to let people um it's supposed to like reach people. Is kind of what it is. It's not like forcing people into it. If you're forcing people into it, you're kind of fail at spreading the word, I guess. And it's something. Okay, it's kind of a tangent, but um, kind of a tangent. I see this all the time. I see it specifically like with Christian people. It seems like they kind of also have a pretty. I'm not. I okay. I don't. I'm not gonna claim to be like know about the Bible, but it seems like a lot of Christian people kind of fail to properly spread the word of their Lord. They cast judgment on people when they are not supposed to. That is God's job after after death. That is God's job to judge and forgive you. It is not up to you to judge and forgive someone. It is your job just to treat them kindly. It's basically what the Bible says. But I feel like a lot of Christians fail to do that. They judge people, and then a lot of the times they push people away from Christianity by judging them, or not even just by judging. They actively force people out, or they for being like gay or trans or whatever. They actively push people out, or they actively keep people out who are like gay or trans and whatever. So just like I don't know, PSA to Christians, even though I'm not particularly religious. The article states that some far right figures use alarmism to fearmonger people, while the far left figure engage in denialism. These behaviors aren't exclusive to either side. Many figures on either side have used these methods to shift the perception of opposition. So this is also this is from a different article I read. I think, in my opinion, they are wrong for both of these. This isn't something that it's a little bit disingenuous to say that people who are far right use alarmism more than people on the left use alarmism, and that people on the left use denialism more than people on the right. From my point of view, when I'm looking at the news or when I'm looking at Twitter, social media, whatever, I can probably like name see like I can easily see that politicians, no matter what political leaning they are all doing this, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be from someone who is far right or far left. It could be people who are more closer to the middle or closer to being more on just regular people denying it actions of their party because they are afraid of being ostracized from people who are like farther down the political spectrum than they are. I think this is something that I added at the end. Yeah, this is something that I did added. I think I don't 100% remember the article, so I don't want to take. I feel like I probably would have quoted it properly. Maybe I don't think I'm taking it. I think this is something that I did just because I kind of disagreed with it. Okay, looks like this is the end. The two-party system has caused a lot of unnecessary division in the U.S. Not only does it cause violence, destruction, and division, I tangented, but I never went back on it. And going back on like the destruction, how destructive extremism is. I thinking, so at the Christian rally, it wasn't even anything. They weren't even pushing for anything. They were just. It was basically just what it was, a rally, just having fun. Antifa came and invaded it, and then started harming the people who were going to the rally. And then it's kind of funny because then you see the Antifa get arrested and they start screaming at the officers even though they committed assault against a random person that didn't deserve harm. Okay, the two-party system has caused a lot of unnecessary division in the U.S. Not only does it cause violence, destruction, division, the benefits are almost negligible. It served a purpose for grassroots policies during the U.S.'s infancy. So when I first wrote my when I wrote my rough draft for this topic, my teacher kind of got a little bit meh and said that two-party system does serve a purpose. It has serves to make grassroots policies like easier to push, but And I feel like it can also make it more difficult to push when there's an opposition to you. So I don't think it really served any purpose, but I had to include something so my teacher wouldn't get upset. Uh, it was. I'll rant about my teacher after this, after I finish this. But now it is used to determine a person's character. But now it is used to determine a person's character. It is also what I have been talking about this stream a lot. The loss of individualism. You are now characterized and you're put into a group of other people that you may or may not agree with. I have explained what the two-party system is, the history of the two-party system, the pros, the cons, and how damaging it truly is to the people in the US. I can confidently say that its main purpose is to keep us divided. Kind of conspiracy. Two-party system basically forces disagreements on the people. So now it makes it so people don't look at what their government is doing wrong. That's kind of what Kirsha, a different streamer that I listened or watched, said that politicians create opposition against like for the people, so they completely ignore what their government is doing wrong. And it's kind of something you can like back to COVID days. Um, there was like a lot of like people who are worried about there was like genuine concern when it comes to the vaccine. I personally didn't really have any concerns about the vaccine because I was relatively educated on it, and at this point I've taken multiple biology classes. So I have a pretty decent understanding of vaccines in general. But the Johnson and Johnson vaccine caused many issues for people that has now been confirmed. Well, there's a reason why those vaccines, the Johnson vaccine, doesn't exist anymore. And they released my kind of like tinfoil hat theory, like conspiracy theory for me. So take this with a grain of salt. I think the vaccines came out a little early, and they were pushed on the people so much by politicians, so they can test it on the people. And then after they confirmed that there were minimal side effects, that's when the politicians started getting their vaccines, or that's when politicians and rich people started getting their vaccines. After people in the middle class or lower class got their vaccines, then they started to get their vaccines when they can confirm there are like hardly any side effects. And I've heard many stories. I personally haven't experienced it. I've heard many stories of people having very negative effects from the vaccine. Some people have become permanently disabled, which doesn't necessarily mean it's from the vaccine. It could be that their body just had a bad reaction, or they had some kind of predisposition to something. But when you look at it, you have to like look at patterns. A lot of people did not have good experiences or reactions to the vaccine, so you need to question it, which is also the reason people questioning the vaccines also allowed people to know that the Johnson and Johnson vaccine was not ready and not good enough for public use, but they pushed it onto people anyways, even though it wasn't ready. And then there were a lot of like celebrities or just in general, a lot of people losing their jobs for being more careful, for not wanting to get the COVID vaccine. And then many people called them crazy, called them far right, called them like idiots for not wanting the vaccine, but then they were eventually proven to be right. So it's okay to question medical professionals. It's okay to question your politicians, even if you are on the same even if you're like the same political party as them. Just because you are the same political party as them or just have same like ideals as them doesn't make it so you can't um like question them. It's you have to always make sure to question your politicians no matter what, if even no matter what political affiliation you are and what political affiliation they are. But politicians have made it so we only question each other. We don't question the politicians. We only look at ourselves, and that allows them to get away with more stuff. And it's just like my tinfoil hat theory. Just people wanted. Oh, I'm not even Minecrafting anymore. I should probably switch it. Sorry, one moment. How do I do this? I might have closed it earlier. Where is it? In my docs. File, docs, here they are. And stream information. Yeah, I closed it on accident. I'm not Minecrafting anymore. I switched to just chatting. Yeah. So they are professionals. They know what they're doing. But if we stop questioning them and letting them make mistakes, that leaves a lot of room for error, a lot of room for. It just leaves more room for them to make mistakes in the future if no one questions them. Which is probably why like, shows like Doctor House and like other like medical shows are becoming popular because it kind of teaches us to question those professionals. But sometimes that also makes their processes more difficult. I have explained it to my sister. I've read that already. Yeah. Here are the here's the sources for anyone who is interested in reading any of them. This book I didn't really use because you have to pay for the book, so I kind of just made something up and just decided it as a source because I needed a book source to get full marks. So I just put in a book, but it was related. It was a autobiography about Washington, and I used Washington's words in my essay. And those words were probably in the book, so it probably still applies. And I'm not in class anymore, so I can admit that I cheated a little bit. AI could never write something like this. Also, this. I don't know. I've kind of thought about publishing it a little bit before. Maybe I'll just make it public for my Twitter account. There are issues with the writing that I need to go back and fix, though. It's kind of the issue, and I don't know if I want to go back and. Well, I kind of have to go back if I want to make it public. I think this article is, I feel like, kind of shows you. It's a pretty good simplification of what I think about politics. There's probably hundreds of more incidents that I can about politics and hypocrisy that I can throw in here, and this thing would still hold true. I think this is something that will hold true as long as a two-party system exists in the U.S. I believe the two-party system is something that needs to be abolished before we can make any actual progress as people, as citizens, not as like a government. We like basically let politics control our life and let the government control our life instead of living our life as individuals. So I'm gonna rant about my teacher now. So the reason why I have written what this was for a this was for a college writing class, college writing 2 specifically, because I finished college writing. Because my degree, for whatever reason, needs college writing 1 and college writing 2. But I think all degrees require college writing 1 and 2, or 2 college writing credits like this. And you know what they did? They did not teach us anything about college writing. Instead, he told us to go buy a book about feminism. And it's Bell Hooks' book. I don't remember what the title was, but we had to buy a Bell Hooks book, and then we read it and whatever. Um, Let him just like talk about whatever he wanted, and he never taught us anything about writing. That's what college writing 1 was to prepare us for college writing 2. But then college writing 2 didn't teach me jack about anything. College writing 1, I didn't learn anything in college writing 2. It just allowed me to learn that this person is most likely just a DEI hire or just a DEI class. So colleges can get more money out of me, and so they can have someone. So they can. It's also related this is like with a trans individual, so they can like meet quotas about diversity. Because I don't know, there was no merit in their teaching at all, and they compared P Diddy to Donald Trump, even though we have someone who is similar to P Diddy already. We have Jeffrey Epstein. If you wanted to compare P Diddy with, well, he wasn't white. I think he was from the Middle East. If you wanted to compare him to someone, why wouldn't you compare him to Jeffrey Epstein, someone who has committed similar crimes to P Diddy? Instead, you compare him to the President of the United States. And what's also ironic is P Diddy got away with it, just like how Trump got away with his alleged, allegedly, got away with allegedly raping women. So it's like you can't compare them anymore. You kind of lost your agenda now. You can't push it anymore. Now you can't now they're comparable people. And also it's kind of crazy to try to defend a criminal by using someone else who you perceive to be a criminal. As far as I know, I haven't seen any actual evidence of Trump raping women. So something to me just I believe is alleged. He's done other things, but I don't think rape is on the table for me personally. And I don't know, Bell Hooks just seems so gross. Seems like a gross person in my opinion. It's just their writing. It's so like disgusting. They write about how like young boys. It's like I guess it's like a really gross metaphor in my opinion. It's basically trying to say that young boys, for because they have a penis, have inherent benefits in society, which yeah is true. But why would you write it in a way that makes it seem like their penis is a weapon? Why would you use that as a metaphor? It's a disgusting way to describe little boys. You're gonna tell little boys that they have benefits in society because their penis is a weapon. It's disgusting. And I can say the same thing about women. Women probably also have certain benefits in society because they're a woman. It's like not something you should be comparing. It's something that we should be fixing. I don't know, and I don't know. It's just kind of weird to write about the struggles of women, but also try to write about the psychology of men when you're not a man. You, it's not like women can't figure out the psychology of men, because that's psychology is very flexible. But when you're also not a psychologist, why would you write stuff like that and try to talk about men's psychology when you're not a psychologist and you do not know what men what men's thought processes are? I don't know. I'm kind of tired of it. We're comparing men and women's issues when we shouldn't be comparing it. We should be fixing it. Action speaks a lot louder than words. So it means constantly comparing it means that we're never gonna get anything done. Society does not get improved by just talking about it. And most of the times it takes action, which is kind of what happened with the Stonewall riots. Talking about it wasn't enough. Trying to fit into society wasn't enough. It took action to change it. It doesn't mean actions like that are justified, but there wasn't it wasn't them that started it. It was society pushing. It was like a broken system that pushed them into fighting back. And at this point, we don't really have like a system pushing. I don't know. when violence was committed on them first. I guess is the best way to put it. But it's unreal tangent, semi-related. How trans people are trying to silence silence the voices of gay and lesbian people of during the Stonewall riots, trying to say that a trans individual was the one that started the riots, threw the first brick, even though they don't know who threw the first brick. And the first person to fight back was a butch lesbian and not a trans person. Just creating lies to fit their agenda. So you can see like this that it's that people in the LGBT are silencing each other. It's like not opposition from people who are not in the group anymore. It's people who are also in the group that are silencing other people. What was I talking about before? I tangented, but I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, I guess I was talking about my teacher. Well, that's done. I also had another teacher. It was a really weird class. It was a class on culture, I guess. Is this the best way I can put it? I can probably look up what the class was. But I knew the person. That teacher was not really teaching a class. They were just pushing agendas. Because they, I don't know, they complained about Kim Possible pushing sexual norms, no, even though heterosexuality is the norm. I'm not sure if that can be perceived in a bad way, but he, most people are heterosexual, so how would that be pushing a heterosexual norm? Would a gay individual watching that show suddenly become straight or think that being gay is wrong for seeing that Kim has a heterosexual relationship? Especially because it's not pushing that as a norm. It's just her being attracted to someone of the opposite sex. Is like some people dig too deep into things, and it just, I don't know, it just gave me brand dim. That's when I kind of, it was at the end of the semester because I would have started ignoring that teacher more. I just did my work and stopped listening to the teacher's lectures because, man, was that just awful, kind of just ignorant thing to say, in my opinion. Just, in class. Well, I guess nothing against my microbiology teacher, but he kind of pushed us to like not question medical professionals, especially when it comes to vaccines. Um, Indirectly calling out right-leaning individuals for questioning the vaccine and completely ignoring the fact that the vaccine affected people negatively. It's just another thing. Like he knows more. Like definitely, it's not questioning his merit. He is someone who definitely knows more than me, and I would never know as much as he does. But telling people not to question medical professionals is definitely not something that's safe. I guess in college it's also something else. People were openly talking about who they voted for. My my biology professor, not my microbiology, my intro to biology professor openly stated they were voting for Kamala Harris. And you know how that went. She obviously did not win. She was a terrible candidate, by the way. I do not care. It was really nice to know. I went to a friend's birthday party recently, and it's really nice to hear that left-leaning individuals, especially far left-leaning individuals, also did not like Kamala Harris's policies, especially because she had like no policies, and they also question what she's done in the past. It's not just um, conservatives questioning her; it's also liberals. So I have hope for my generation that they're able to push back against their perceived differences and eventually like I don't know. I kind of became like thought there was like incompetency in my generation, which there definitely is, but I feel like especially people in my age group seem to be becoming more normal, I guess is the best way to put it. But there is definitely an incompetency crisis, mostly because of social media. It's yapping for the sake of yapping. I didn't think I would be talking for this long, but I guess once I get going, I guess reading this helped a lot. I think this can probably be. Nah, I don't know. I'll probably use this. There's another thing I wanted to talk about, I believe. Um, I thought I had something else to talk about. I think it was most likely about. Um, I was probably going to talk about propaganda again, especially with like kids getting more access to social media and stuff. I don't think it's bad to bar like children, like prevent children from accessing social media, but some people see that as like a breach in freedom of I guess in their I guess freedom, even though they're minors. But it seems like a lot of propaganda is geared towards children at this point, which is kind of disgusting. I guess I didn't really get into very much. So I talked about it a little bit while I was playing Minecraft, but um, when I was like using TikTok, I didn't become black pilled because I have a very good mom. I have a sister, so I'm not going to hate women because other women are saying kill all men. That's just like illogical. I know my family loves me very deeply, so I'm not going to hate them because I see women online saying kill all men and even men online saying kill all men. But that was something that probably caused a ton of damage to young boys at the time. Especially because at the time I was getting into social media, I was like 16, 15. And like probably hit young boys very hard. Maybe cause them to black pill, or maybe cause them to cause harm to themselves because that's what people wanted. That's what they see online. And I think there was an incident of a boy killing himself, but I don't know how true that is considering no one really talks about it anymore. That's like old TikTok news and maybe had no merit. I don't know. I just heard stuff on TikTok. I don't have TikTok anymore because TikTok's algorithm is so good that shows you into echo chambers because of how good their algorithm is. And it's not necessarily like a positive echo chamber. It can also push you to watching something that you hate because you're constantly interacting with it, and then it causes you to either black pill or it causes damage to your mental health. It causes you maybe society doesn't need you anymore, or I don't know. Society doesn't need you, or these people hate you, so I'm not going to like them either. I also hate them. That's how you get people flocking to Andrew Tate. I talked about this a little bit on my last stream. Um, the reason why so many young men flock to Andrew Tate is because they became blackpilled from women constantly telling them that they're not needed in society, or that they cause damage to people around them, or that they deserve to die because they are men. And then that's probably why so many people flock to Andrew Tate. Also, unrelated, again, I saw someone making someone apparently writing an article about Hassan saying that he's the Superman of the left. And if he's the Superman of the left, I can't imagine what the Superman of the right looks like because Hassan is quite literally more like Luther than he is like Superman, so I don't know what people are thinking. He hates individuals for perceived differences, just like Lex Luthor hates Superman for just being a superior being. And yeah, and if I don't know, he's like he's a Lex Luthor of the left. He is not a hero that whatever he's paying those articles or journalists to write about him. They're simply I don't know. It's always cringe when Hassan just reads his puff pieces, even though I know he probably paid those people to write those about him. He's just and a lot of times those articles have backfired on him. They did not make him look good. They made him look worse. It's just like just wasting his money. All right, it is getting late for me. Hopefully, I can stream tomorrow, but I think I'm gonna be busy. The reason why I streamed today is because if I didn't stream today, I would probably never stream again. So I think I'm probably going to force myself to create a proper streaming schedule. So if I create a proper streaming schedule, then I won't have an excuse to not to stream. I can't get like my anxiety get the best of me. Oh, I think I remember what I talk about. Um, should I talk about it now? What kind of ending stream? I have to talk about it, or else I'll forget about it next time I stream. I kind of want. So another reason why I think social media shouldn't be used by minors is because it seems like a lot of people are inducing mental illnesses on themselves by using social media. I talked about this a little bit before, how like a bunch of kids, TikTok kids, or kids using TikTok were inducing Tourette's in themselves because I guess just the need to feel special, the need to be different, or just assuming that they or just assuming that they actually truly believing that they truly have it caused them to have Tourette's. And then even when I was in middle school, online tests were available to people. They could take anxiety tests, depression tests, and they would answer in a way that they perceived was correct, and then they would think they had depression and they would induce it on themselves. As I saw like a bunch of people taking it, and everyone who took it had got came back positive, most likely because they were purposely answering to make it look like they have depression or they wanted to feel special, so they induced it on themselves. So that's like just another reason why I think social media should be like banned from children. The internet access is fine, but it needs to be restricted. We need parents need to properly restrict access to the internet, and in my opinion, they need to completely restrict access to social media because a lot of young kids are like it's like not just depression and anxiety. It's like autism and stuff, autism and eating disorders. They're like inducing it on themselves for the need to feel special, or they just think that they have it. There's this examples like from as an example from my middle school times, just people. And I may also be guilty of it because when I took the depression test online, I also may have answered in a way that, um, and the way that made me look like I had depression, but when I might have not. But I did participate in self harm when I was in middle school as well, and it got even worse in high school. And I'm not sure if it's. I think it's simply from brain chemistry. I don't know if I induced it on myself. I don't think it was from my life because I lived a pretty privileged life in my opinion. Man, I can feel my voice fading. Um, I mean, I do have trauma as a kid, but I don't think it was something that could have caused depression. But something that I struggle with is remembering anything from my childhood. I don't really have very fond memories or very strong memories of my childhood. I struggle recalling with stuff like that, which probably was a reason why therapy wasn't really effective for me. I wasn't able to talk about my past because I simply couldn't remember it. Um, but yeah, and then eventually I got worse in high school, and I started cutting myself deeper. And some cuts were attempts. One of my some of my scars were attempts to kill myself, which obviously did not work. But I do know how to do it now, so I'm not going to elaborate on how to do it though. And I have scars all over my arms, and I'm not sure if that makes people feel uncomfortable to approach me. I don't know if that makes people uncomfortable to talk to me. I don't know if that makes people uncomfortable in general. But I have never had anyone really bring it up. I don't know. I think they're pretty obvious, but I guess people don't really care, I guess, unless I am the one that bring it up. I guess a lot of the time. It's like bystander syndrome, bystander effect. Bystander effect is very real, by the way. It isn't something that exists just in the U.S. or just in Asian countries. Sometimes, in some cases, it's worse in Asian countries because they have laws against helping people. So, I think social media also has caused people to induce mental illnesses on themselves. The main thing I want, like, kind of see is like probably ADHD and autism are definitely the main ones. Like when Jacksepticeye came out and he said he took a test, an actual test for autism. It is good for him, but I feel like at this point, if most people spent the amount of money, had the money to spend that he did to get an autism test, they would probably get similar results as he did. It seems like a lot of it has become induced at this point. A lot of people think that they have autism. In reality, they probably don't. Well, and autism is a spectrum. Like everyone is on the spectrum, but we don't consider everyone autistic. I don't know. And then people, I feel like another thing is very common. I see like everyone at this point. I see like everyone on social media, every influencer, everyone has everyone has ADHD. And I see a ton of influencers say they have ADHD, and then when you see it, like most of them, you see most of them have ADHD. You're probably gonna start believing that maybe you also have ADHD, when ADHD probably isn't as common as you perceive it to be. So just and then on social media, you see people pretending to have certain disorders to gain attention, or they over exaggerate symptoms, or I don't know, and also saying that if you have any type of hyperfixation that you might be autistic is not true. So I don't know. This is just, in my opinion, another reason why social media probably shouldn't be used by minors. And it seems like only bad comes from it, from letting a minor use social media. All right, I think that's enough yapping for today. My voice is kind of going through it. Um, So, just talked about this before. Hopefully, one day, if this becomes successful, if I becomes consistent enough, I definitely think I can be successful if I stay consistent. And when I am able to, I would love to do content like just yapping, personal opinions, which is just what streaming is. Slightly political, maybe sewing streams, card opening streams, Lego opening streams, maybe someday some singing streams because I do like enjoy singing, but my voice is kind of cooked right now. Um, it's another when I went to watch Shrek the musical, like a performance put on by like a little company that one of my friends were a part of. It was a one act, so I think that's what they call it. So yeah, one act. So there's no breaks in between. So they have to cut stuff out, and they cut the best song from Shrek the Musical. I was so sad. If you haven't heard of it, listen to the soundtrack of Shrek the Musical. They actually got some really good songs. They got some mid songs, but I would say most of the songs are very good. I'd highly recommend Shrek the Musical. Specifically the soundtrack. The story is just the same as Shrek. If you've seen Shrek, you know what. If you like Shrek, you kind of know what you're in for. My main goal in the future is to do cooking streams. And the reason why cooking is so important to me is because one day I would like to open up my own business, specifically a cafe, and I want to be able to put my focus into perfecting my craft rather than going to school or working a job. Just I would love to be able to just cook, practice, do whatever like I want. It seems like I see people's constant discourse around how difficult streaming is, and I do not really. I mean, you can have your own opinion on it. I personally think that if you do what you enjoy, then you should never consider this to be more difficult than a 9 to 5 because there's a reason why you're streaming and not doing a 9 to 5. So you can't say it's more difficult. I think it was brought up multiple times. First, I don't know who was the first to do it. I think Hassan was probably like the second one to do it, and so many people. It was a really funny discourse coming from the nepo baby, who has never worked a 9 to 5 in his life or never had a real job in his life, lived off of his father's wealth, his uncle's wealth. It was like same with like pirate software. Having EV, I don't want to say they necessarily had an easy life because I don't know them, but they were definitely in a place of privilege, and they complain about that privilege, and it's telling. So yeah, another thing is, gosh, I don't want to keep yapping. I want to eventually get a model, but models are expensive, so I don't want one. So stop asking me. Um, I do one day want to get a model. I just don't know what it would look like. Definitely just frog themed. That's as best as I can do. So whenever I make a schedule, I also hold on, let me close this quickly. When I make a schedule, I also need to make a background for when I make a schedule because that's kind of what streamers have, specifically VTubers. Um, they have art that they have for whenever they post their schedules. Also, another thing is I need to get a better computer so I can multi-stream, which is definitely going to be pricey. I don't know what the best way to get I don't know what the best computer to get is. I do like playing games and I want to play more games because my computer can't run a lot of those games. That's another reason why I can't get games because I don't have a computer good enough to run those games. And that's kind of yeah. So if I were gonna do art, I kind of want to do a starting starting stream art like this. This is something that I drew, and I have a tablet to draw it digitally, so I should probably consider doing it in the future. I'll probably draw something like this for my starting stream instead of just having this thing in the background. I would have something like this, and then I also have this. Well, I don't know what I would use this for. Maybe this would probably be used for a schedule. That's not the full art. Hold on, let me see if I can find the full one. I am not an artist, by the way. Sorry, I distracted. I was looking at posts. Let's see, you can find the old picture. Why is there a GIF? Here it is. Okay. This would probably be for us a art drawing that I would probably use for. Oh, there's a $1 bill. Use for starting stream, or not starting stream, a schedule. But I need to draw it digitally, and also I have no clue how to draw digitally. That's also another issue. All right. I think this is a good place to end off. I think this was a good stream. Maybe I would probably. I think I can actually probably truly believe. I truly believe I can probably get a bit YouTube videos out of this. So it looks like I have to lock in and probably get a bunch of YouTube shorts out of this, and then get a long form video out of it as well because of how long I read my own paper for. Yeah, how much content I got from reading my own paper. Okay, I clicked on the wrong one. Luckily, it doesn't have any names on it. There we go. This is. I know what Kirshay does on stream is she kind of reads articles, and I guess because of how well reading my own article went, maybe I should start reading more articles on stream. Well, not my own article, my own essay. Alright, if anyone gets to the end of the stream, thank you for watching. I'm definitely going to use this stream for something, even if no one watches it. People in the future can watch it. Okay, anyone who is here, thank you, and goodbye. Where is the end stream button?